I say what I mean and mean what I say. I take my own advice. I walk the walk, or try to. I told you last November, if you could, buy farmland. If you could, surround yourself with like-minded, decent people. People who still understand America. People who still go to church on Sunday. I don't care what church it is. I don't care if it's synagogue on Saturday. God-fearing people. People that still know their neighbor and still want to help. We moved to Dallas, Texas. I don't live in Dallas. We live in the outskirts of Dallas. We're surrounded by good, decent people. People who will help. People who do help. Family just bought a farm. Today we get 4 sheep. A couple of weeks we get 4 cows. And we have chickens. We have a local rancher who leased some of the land that we have, and he was grazing his cattle on our land when we went up a couple of weeks ago. My son was up at the crack of dawn every morning, chasing those cows, trying to get them to not eat the hay for the horses. He would go outside and every night he would come in. Now that we're back home, he doesn't really need a bath every day. He needed a bath every day because he was out in the dirt. He was out digging. He was out looking for rocks and bugs, chasing cows. When the chickens arrive, he'll be up at the crack of dawn feeding the chickens, and his daughter will be, or his sister will be next to him, gathering the eggs. The highest technology we had was Beyblades. We didn't watch a movie for a week. We didn't watch television for a week. We played cards. He beat me in chess. We read books. We talked. We played this great new game that we've never played before. Had it on the shelf for a long time, called Snorta. Laughed ourselves silly. We tried to put light back into us. I was at Spider-Man last week. Great movie. I mean, it's not the best movie of all time, but it's a good movie. It's really a good, fun summer movie. Good action movie. There were a couple of 6-year-old kids behind me. And I'm watching about 2/3 of this movie, and I'm like, I could have brought Rafe to this. He's 8. There's nothing wrong with this. And all of a sudden, the movie went dark, really dark. And there was killing and beast and monsters, and my kids would have freaked out. They wouldn't have been able to sleep for a long time. Because those things are real to them. Don't you remember when there were monsters that were real that lived under your bed? Don't you remember seeing movies that scared you beyond imagination when you were a kid? Because they were real to you. You couldn't separate reality, fact, from fiction. Don't you remember being terrified that we were all going to be vaporized? Depending on how old you are, I was in the last generation. I was born in 1964, but I remember growing up as a kid being terrified that the Russians were going to vaporize us. Well, we didn't just get that from the movies. We also got that from the news. Well, look at what Batman is. It is a very real story to a kid. It's a very real story. They're seeing in the news. They're seeing people say the things that are being said. We've all seen the trailers. We've seen the trailers, and we've all looked at each other, and we've said, my gosh, that sounds like Occupy Wall Street. That sounds like this guy. That sounds like that guy. That sounds like the president. That sounds like Mitt Romney. That's whatever. We're seeing these things happen. And this is a fantastic movie, I'm sure, that has taken real life and made it fictional. And we see the parallels in our own society. And we as adults can discuss it. We as adults can see it. 6-year-old kids of the dark night. I was walking with my daughter. And I had my rifle with me. And we had been practice shooting. And we were walking back to the house on the farm. And the sun was starting to go down. And it was this golden, golden glow of the sun. And the farm still had the tall grass that was yellow from the heat. And just over the hill, just at the top of the grass, the tall grass and the cows were nothing but shadows, long. And the sun hit the top of all of the grass. We were walking kind of up the hill towards the sun, towards the house. It was cinematic. And I had my rifle over my arm, and my arms folded. And little birds were flying out of the grass when we walked. And I was just talking to my daughter as we were walking. And as a bird flew out of the grass, I looked to see if it was a pheasant, because that's the last time I did that. My grandfather would walk with me on his farm with his shotgun broken up over his arm. And if there was a pheasant, he'd shoot it, and we'd have pheasant. We've missed the simple things. We've forgotten the simple things. We've forgotten to put goodness into our children. We've forgotten to put goodness into ourselves. Where are the good things that are replenishing us? Where are the things that we're doing every day that are filling us back up? You can only experience so much darkness before it affects you. We are what we eat. That which you gaze upon, you become. Maybe we should cast our eyes a little higher.